Government caucus meets in Port Moresby. 81 members in head count. And CS Commissioner stresses discipline.
This is National EMTV News with Lorraine Guinea.
Good evening, thank you for joining me for Saturday's news. The government caucus is in camp following the motion of no confidence yesterday in Parliament. Despite talk of the opposition numbers increasing, the government remains intact, says a spokesperson. Today, members of the government were at Port Moresby's Airways Hotel as a sign of solidarity between the coalition government. Members of Parliament, including state ministers and governors, were present. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was also present at this afternoon's meeting. A government spokesperson told EMTV News their numbers have remained the same despite rumours of MPs joining the opposition. No further details have been released, but sources say the government will be in camp until next week Friday when Parliament meets for the vote of no confidence. The government caucus yesterday gathered in solidarity and did a head count of 81 members. There were words of encouragement issued as the group prepared for the week ahead. MPs have been in camp since yesterday as strategies are planned for the looming vote next Thursday.
In a caucus meeting yesterday, government MPs gathered in a show of support for the O'Neill-led coalition. It was a group in apparently high spirits as the leader of government business, James Marape, called for a head count.
We count as a normal tradition is Honorable Roy Simo, you can count one and then we go on to the last one.
Yesterday's unexpected announcement of a defection from government ranks by the PPP leader, Ben Micah, happened as the government counted its numbers and reaffirmed its strengths.
79, 81,
81 MPs confirming their allegiance to the government. It came after an earlier dismissal of the seriousness of the opposition's attempt at pushing through a vote. Both government and opposition MPs are in camp right now, but it's not clear at this stage how the numbers will shift in the coming days before Thursday when the vote will be held. But for now, the government remains highly confident of fending off a vote. Scott Waide, National EMTV News.
Members of Parliament who are in government are not moved by the recent political events following the recall of Parliament. In a signing ceremony yesterday, Trade Commerce Minister Richard Maru and State Enterprise Minister William Duma says the government is intact. Both ministers criticised the actions by the opposition, describing it as power-hungry.
I think people are very, very power-hungry. Instead of focusing on the nation, it's all about power, and I think that's wrong.
As far as I know, the government is intact. We have the numbers to deal with notice of motion.
Last night, the management of Air Guinea announced to the travelling public that all its services are starting to return to normal from today onwards. This follows fresh dialogue with the National Pilots Union. Air Guinea has prioritised its disrupted passengers to ensure they are uplifted to their destinations at the earliest opportunity possible.
In the media statement sent out last night, the airline said it operated most of its domestic schedule and international flights, except the operation to Honiara, Solomon Islands, and Nandi in Fiji. Air Guinea Board Chairman Simon Fu said passengers remain the airline's #1 priority. He said management and staff are on hand to do everything possible to ease the inconvenience caused by the temporary setback to Air Guinea services. Yesterday, the Minister for State-Owned Enterprise, William Duma, said actions by the Air Guinea staff had nothing to do with an industrial matter.
This behavior by the Air Guinea employees has got nothing to do with an industrial matter for which they would be complaining about. We have not made any decision which has resulted in the loss of their entitlements, such as sick leave entitlements, basic wages, overtime claims, holiday pay, all those usual entitlements. All those entitlements have not been affected.
Today, Air Niugini sales offices in the outports were opened until midday, and the Waigani sales office in Port Moresby was opened until 5 p.m. to assist with rebooking and rerouting of tickets for the passengers who had to make changes to their travel. The airline waived all penalty fees for the disrupted passengers. Mr. Fu thanked those staff who are working tirelessly to process and handle the various disrupted flights. He also thanked those pilots who continued to provide air services to the traveling public. Deli Waigeno, National, EMTV News.
Maintaining discipline in the Correctional Service, that story and more after the break. Welcome back to Saturday's news. 34 CS jail commanders from provincial jail institutions across the country have completed a 2-week discipline course training program. Correctional Services Commissioner Michael Waipo addressed the participants at the closing ceremony yesterday, saying that he expects to see an improvement in discipline in the organisation from here on.
There have been numerous complaints, Waipo said, of the lack of discipline in command and control, not only in the Correctional Service, but in their sister organizations, the Police and Defence Department. Waipo attributed this to the fact that discipline officers did not possess the know-how of basic disciplinary procedures or standards for that matter. The program, he said, aimed to revamp the efficiency of disciplinary standards within the CS and urged that commanders and officers alike practice what knowledge they have been imparted in that regard.
Our backbone hinges on sound discipline. And I must admit here that for over the years we've had real trying times in the absence of the application of discipline under the enabling legislation that allows us to do that in order to accept the command and control aspect in our organization. And so you, the participants who come through this program, now have this opportunity to have gone through, and will be returning to your institutions with the newfound knowledge and experience.
The Commissioner added that he now expected that reports be submitted consistently to maintain discipline of officers below them and the institutions they man. According to Internal Affairs Director Raymond Gideon, the CS department invested over 50,000 kina to train the officers with the help of the police department, who facilitated the training program.
Own in-house problems in terms of discipline and all this, so the main reason is to bring the commanders and discipline officers for them to undergo training of discipline as well as investigations, and because we do have our discipline processes and all this, but we lack the knowledge to implement discipline on our side.
He said by far only 4 jails practiced proper discipline standards, and he hoped this training program will eventually bring the other jail institutions up to par with their performance.
Correctional institutions do not perform because they don't know what to do. That's the whole idea of bringing them in. So only 4 correctional institutions is Baisu in Mount Again, Karavet in Rabaul, and Buimo in Ley, and Buyebi in Mandi.
Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
The autonomous Bougainville government has invested in housing for public servants. Technical Services Department Secretary told EMTV News housing is a way forward to help improve the public service machinery. Fabian Hakelitz files this report from Booker.
An inspection into the construction site was conducted today, which Mr. Chilo highlighted the importance of housing to the public service machinery. And in order for public civil servants to perform effectively, they have to be sheltered in a good house. The autonomous Bougainville government is addressing the accommodation issue under the housing scheme program.
We can see on this allotment is for 2 of the 5 houses that we're building for senior public servants of the ABG. Some of them will be for newly appointed secretaries of departments.
The 5 houses cost 3 million kina. Mr. Chilu says that more houses will be built.
The project will cost 3 million kina, which includes fully furnishing and building an access road to all the houses.
Meanwhile, the autonomous Bougainville Government President's House will be demolished with a proper building structure soon to be built. Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News, Buka.
A team of 11 trekkers set off this morning for the Kokoda track as part of a medical fundraiser for radio legend Roger Hawofa, who was diagnosed with kidney failure late last year. Leader of the group and daughter Michelle Hawofa and the team known as Kokoda for Kidney or K4K said they were delighted to walk for the cause. Apart from raising funds, K4K is hoping to raise awareness on the kidney disease.
Kokoda for Kidney is a fundraising track of the world-famous Kokoda track for the Roger Hawofa Medical Appeal. Roger was diagnosed with kidney failure in October 2015 and has been undergoing regular dialysis sessions overseas. The medical fundraiser for the radio legend has seen outstanding results. Spearheaded by Michelle Hawofa, the K4K has raised a total of 120,000 kina.
For us it's overwhelming because it's a really hard time to be fundraising. You know, companies are doing it hard and families are doing it tough.
While the main aim for K4K is to raise funds for the RHMA, it is also raising awareness on the kidney disease and the importance of a healthy lifestyle in a supportive environment. Ms. Hawofa also acknowledged the generosity of individuals, families and companies who have collectively donated the funds. Major sponsors included Enges Children's Trust Fund, Hebo Construction and MRDC.
After the 8 days, you can just imagine how tired they will be, how uncomfortable it will be, how worn out they will be. Some of them might be injured, but we will be there as a team to receive them.
The final list for the inaugural K4K 2016 is at 11 trekkers, including 2 from Fiji. The team has set off today at 8 a.m. and are optimistic about returning on Remembrance Day. K4K is hoping to make this an annual event. Daphne Rassahay, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas now, more than 700 Turkish soldiers have been arrested in a sweep following an attempted coup to overthrow the government. Reports say up to 60 people have been killed in the military uprising overnight.
Gunfire, explosions and tanks rolling through the streets in Turkey's major cities. A violent and bloody coup attempt by rogue members of the military unfolded through the night. At least 42 people have been killed in the capital of Ankara, and Turkey's Red Crescent says 1,000 people across the country have been injured. As the coup attempt played out, the Turkish President Erdogan used FaceTime to urge people to flock to the streets in his support, and they did it by the thousands, climbing onto tanks and jamming the streets before a cheering crowd in Istanbul just a short time ago. Mr. Erdogan insisted he had prevailed.
This nation brought a certain government using their own will by election. The government is in control. 50% of the people elected a president, and that president is on duty.
Trukai Sports is up next. I'll be back with all the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Sports Minister Justin Chichenko is confident all 4 venues for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup will be ready on time. Chichenko said through the government's support, the venues will be completed.
While the team is undergoing high-intense training under the guidance of coach Lisa Cole, the sports minister is adamant PNG will successfully host the Women's World Cup in November. The sports minister said the government has injected 30 million kina in ensuring all facilities are constructed on time for the games.
And with that, all full construction is ongoing as we speak.
Meanwhile, Minister Chichanko says preparations are going smoothly as well as making sure FIFA rules and regulations are followed. The Women's World Cup will see the inclusion of 15 countries in the likes of USA, Japan and Brazil taking part.
And we want to ensure that the fields and the facilities are to the international standards that they require.
Dinero Straiko, National EMTV Sports.
The PNG Sports Foundation, in partnership with the government, have bigger plans for the High Performance Centre. This follows the success of the 2015 Pacific Games.
The evolution of sports in PNG is taking shape. And it's exciting because the government of today has had a vision to be able to create the environment of which young Papua New Guineans and aspiring Papua New Guineans that want to be world champions have an environment that they can excel in. And the government has invested so much into this exercise that it's only a matter of time till we start to see results.
What you'll see is an increase in maybe gold medals in the Commonwealth Games or in big international events, Oceania events, that will allow our athletes to be equal as other athletes, not only in the Pacific but throughout the world.
After the conclusion of the Junior Netball Championships in Port Moresby, PNG Pepe's coach says there is a lot of young raw talent in the country. Meanwhile, the recent under-21 selections were part of the preparations for the 2017 World Cup qualifiers. Jeremy Moggy with more.
The Pepe's mentor has been given the opportunity to oversee preparations as a high-performance assistant and has said that the program will benefit the PNG senior team, the Peppers, immensely.
When you get your hands to this young group of players at this time, it'll really make the work for the Peppers group much easier, because at the end of the day, these are the players that'll complete the player pathway from the under-21s leading up to the Peppers.
With the current style that the national team have, Rokora also believes that consistency throughout the various levels of PNG Netball's divisional structure should be maintained so that players are able to follow a set path to the top, and this includes education of players and the coaching staff behind them.
Of course. That's the main focus that we have with PNG Netball right now. We are not only targeting players, but the most important group that we're forgetting are the coaches. Once we educate the coaches, once we educate them on proper training and making sure that they understand the meaning of intensity training, then pathway through pathway, everyone will be training at the same level as the Peppers.
A domestic competition featuring the elite netball players in Papua New Guinea is on the cards. And while discussions are still yet to be finalized, it is believed that with a domestic competitive program in place, the quality of players with the potential to represent the country on national duties will increase and lay the foundation for future success internationally in netball. Rokora has been one of Papua New Guinea's most successful coaches in recent times. Under her guidance, the country was able to reach the final of the Pacific Games in 2015, become runners-up in the Nations Cup that same year, and most recently claimed their first victory over Singapore in a tight performance in March 2016. Jeremy Moggy, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region, occasional showers with chances of evening thunderstorms in Port Moresby, light showers and drizzles for Daru, showers and rain in Alatau, and showers for Popondetta and Kerema. And that's the news, sports and weather for Saturday, the 16th of July 2016. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant evening, good night.